Hello, how are you? It's me, Balloon. Welcome to my first actually edited video. Yay! Full disclosure before I jump into this, I have no clue what I'm doing. I tried recording the script 4 different times, and honest to God, I felt like my voice was not really cut out for this type of stuff, but after recording it for the 5th time today, I figured, why not? I'll just keep giving it a shot until I get it right. Um, this video is actually aiming to be a series where I hope to cover some of the competitive side of Splatoon 3, specifically the Western scene, but I could do the Eastern scene as well. I could talk about other JP tournaments. There's a lot that goes on in the Western scene, and I thought it would be a really great idea to just give additional resources for people to use to help with team comps, to help with strategy, and just to have an easy way to access information about tournaments and just give people a better idea about what the top teams in the West are doing. This video, to be the first of the series, I was just hoping to quickly discuss the first 2 preseason weeks as well as the first 2 normal weeks of the NA League. And for those of you saying in the comments, hey, you might be a little late. And to that, I just have to say this. Yes, I am more than aware that I am pretty late to the party. I did not start the series until today, and this is a very last minute idea for me. And I figured that if there's any time to start it, hey, might as well be now. Um, if you like these types of videos, please let me know in the comments. I'm very open to feedback, and any of these ideas that people have, I would love to hear about. I understand that there might be a very niche community of people who are interested in these types of videos, but honestly, I don't really mind that. Speaking of last minute, let's just quickly talk about the first 2 preseason weeks, and then I'll jump into the actual week 1 and week 2 of the event. With preseason 1 coming to a close as September 20th, the team that was able to first make some noise was none other than Duck Motif, going 2-1 against the second place team, Triggerfish Zones Supremacy, which is also one of the oldest Splatoon teams I can think of off the top of my head. Now, I've seen these people around for a while, and it's very cool to see them still playing the game so well. I love seeing the Expo comps that they try pulling off, and honestly, they look fun, honestly. I wish I played Expo. I want to try some of those comps out. Anyways, the roster of Duck Motif consisted of Kara, Red Shell, Drifty, and then the player I've been most interested in discussing, Bandit. For those of you who don't know, Bandit has been playing the game for a while. I've seen him around since the Splatoon 2 days and a few weeklies, and I'm really surprised to see him back. Originally, I thought that Duck Motif would be playing with Kaisa for the event, as Bandit has been rather inactive. Spoiler alert, Kaisa has another team, and I'm rooting for them. I know the players, I know the comp. They have a good team. I'm really excited to watch them play. Anyways, back to Kaisa. Kaisa fills the same role as Bandit, where Kaisa can play Pen, they can play Edit, they can essentially play any backline weapon that has a cooler attach, with a few exceptions of like 96, for example. Um, I remember watching Kaisa play with Doug Motif, and they seemed really good with the team. Um, with that in mind, I was actually surprised to see Bandit back, as it looks like there'll be a shift to Duck Motif's comps for the NA League. Instead of the pen edit that Kaisa brought to the team, Bandit is just a charger player. And I don't think I've seen them on anything else. He plays a bit of leader, grab, but if that's the case, then that would leave Kara to be their cooler player, unless he decides to play pencil, which he does. I've seen a couple of pencil games, so without a pencil, it looks like the generic team comp that has been consistently run by Doug Motif is a knee leader, you have a Zap, you have Red Shell and Octobrush, and then you have Drifty on Gal. I think this is one of the more unique comps that we'll see throughout the NA League, as I believe this is the only team that's trying to make an Octobrush leader comp work. It's really interesting stuff, actually. I love watching some of those games. Kara has a couple of videos and streams up, and I love watching Red Shell and Drifty fight because it just looks like they can make their own magic happen all the time. But anyways, regardless of how their comp looks, it's great to see Bandit back grinding the game again, and I hope we can continue to bring the same amount of success that Kaisa has brought them. I was talking to some friends about Bandit a little bit, and I was kind of thinking, this could be good for the team. If Bandit came back to the game, he shakes off a little bit of the rust. He locks in for a couple of weeks, and then he could really push the team further. Like I think this could be a good change that could push the team that extra hurdle that could maybe even win them a week in the future. I know I've talked a little bit about week 1. Uh, again, I could talk a lot more about the other teams that were playing in this preseason week 1, but I was just hoping to quickly go over the other stuff that happened in NA League. Um, I think in the future I'll probably just have like weekly updates so I could go into further detail about the individual weeks compared to just kind of summarizing everything up until this point. Anyways, with that, I'm just going to continue week 2. Preseason week 2 was won by none other than Hypernova after getting the bracket reset against Free Flow. Watching this back, I was honestly shocked to see that they were able to get the 6-0 sweep against Free Flow Grands. I believe that's the only time that's really happened in a Nintendo hosted event for Splatoon, but then again, I could be wrong. I don't know. Like, I tried looking this up right before, and I couldn't find anything. Prove me wrong, please. Oh my god. To briefly summarize Hypernova as well as their comps and players, here's here's a list. You got Henlo on Bucket and Wiper. Editor's note: the only reason why Wiper's on this list is because I can tell you for a fact I watched the stream back. Henlo swapped to it last second before a game started, and then they just kind of stuck with it. Anyways, you have signups on only Forge Splash Out Pro this tournament, despite me seeing them only play Dapple and Gal for like the longest time. And then lastly, the 2 new additions to Hypernova right before the NA League was starting. You have Captain Happy, who played Pencil and Heavy Edit, and then you have Fishy, who I believe is playing as Decaf this time. Again, I'm sorry, I sounded really uncertain about the comp that Hypernova ran. That actually helps me lead into my next comment about this team, where they're the only team I've seen change their comp every single time I watch them play. I feel like they've changed their comp the most amount of times since acquiring this new roster with adding Captain Happy and Fishy. I've seen a lot of new comps run by these guys. I've seen both Synapse and Fishy on Pro at some point. I've seen Henlo go back to Wiper after playing Bucket for a while. It's confusing, but despite that, I think that could also mean that this is like a little bit of a blessing in disguise because it is going to be so hard to predict what these guys play throughout the week. I feel like I'm going to be able to go through Synapse's VODs later today. I'm going to see them play a whole different comp for week 3. I'm really excited to see that, actually. The second place team of the week I really wanted to talk about was none other than Free Flow. The main reason why I said I was surprised to see that Hypernova was able to get the 6-0 sweep against them was because Free Flow was actually doing really well this tournament. They were able to beat Hypernova in a Game 5 right before, securing themselves an early Grand Finals placement, and I was honestly expecting them to win the entire thing if they continue to carry their momentum. Their comp and roster consisted of Len on V-Blaster or S-Blast. You have Xeno Cakes, the backline player on Heavy Edit and some Pencil. Then the 2 players I really wanted to talk about were Adapt on the new Tri-Slosher and then JJ on Spybrella. Now, I've been saying for a while that I'm a huge fan of the new Tri-Slosher kit, specifically Tri-Slosher Ashen. I think that kit's very underrated. I love Screen, I love Splat Bomb, I love the damage combinations, and I think it's really good. And honestly, you don't really see the weapon that much. Maybe it's because Screen's banned half the time in Senna but I feel like more people should try that weapon out. And I think honestly, Adapt is the only one really doing that weapon justice. Next, you have the Splatbrella, the weapon I believe that's meshed their whole composition together. Brella has been one of those weapons that have been very bad for a very long time. And to be fair, nobody really plays it. It doesn't have good damage. It doesn't have good pain. It doesn't have good paints for special. And it didn't compared to the other mid lines in the meta. Especially with this meta being a huge chip damage based oriented some form of AoE in every single comp, including Blaster. You got some buckets. Hell, you even have both sometimes. Um, it just seemed like it was a very unfortunate spot for Splatbrella. That is actually until the latest patch that actually buffed the Splatbrella that we had a while ago. I won't go into too much detail about the patch notes, but specifically, since the buff, Splatbrella has been really good at painting. I'm pretty sure it might have gotten a little bit of a damage buff, but if not, they definitely got a bit of a nerf to its points per special. But honestly, blessing in disguise. That points per special nerf was needed, and thank God that was just a blessing in disguise because holy hell, spoiler alert, that weapon paints too damn much. Thanks to JJ, I can safely say that there's no longer a case where Splatbrella is useless. Brella has actually been very good for this team, as I've seen JJ actually get a lot of paint down. I've seen a couple streams where JJ's literally outpainting 3 players on their team, hell, even the enemy team. And I believe this weapon has way better synergy alongside its other weapons than I was expecting. The damage between the Tri and the Blasters just make it so easy to play, I feel like. Furthermore, I think both the kits of Splatbrella are actually really good with it, and it only makes me more excited to see what else the weapon can do. Then again, I hope JJ and Adapt continue to push those weapons and prove that they're worth picking up in the future. Now, originally I was going to mention this in the video, but third place for this week was won by none other than yours truly, Shefaguli. Yes, this is my team. Yes, it's a Silksong reference. That was the goal of the team name. I had to leave in the middle of the event between ladder and then top 8, and I was able to come back to a really close set against Free Flow. We were able to beat Foams in a third place match, and we came out on top. Unfortunately, we had to take the first 2 real weeks of the NA League off, but we're hoping to continue more in week 3. But once we continue to play more, I'll talk more about our comps and strategies in the future. Again, I'm terribly sorry for all the talking. I still have a lot more to discuss about the NA League, specifically the first two actual weeks of the event, but I'm just going to continue from there. Again, if you have any other critiques for my videos or any other ideas about what I could possibly discuss, but hey, if you think I did a good job so far, please feel free to leave a like. With that, I'm just going to continue on to the actual week one of the event. Week one of the NA League event, and I mean the actual event, not the preseason, was won by none other than Milky Way, winning against Lavaca in a 3-1 bracket reset, and then another 3-1 in round 5 of the top 8 ladder. Their roster consisted of a bunch of household names with Q on pencil. You had Jared on V Dooley, you had Bran, my savior, on V Bucket, and lastly, to my honest surprise, Milky Way's fourth was actually Ice. Ice was a player originally on Starburst before taking a break from the game. I was honestly surprised to see him make a return and perform so well on the new Splash Out Pro. As I was writing the script for this video, I realized that there's a recurring theme of old players coming back to this game. This theme of players returning actually comes back during week 2, and I'll talk more about it later. In terms of Milky Way strategy, I was actually told to explain that Brand was actually the true MVP of this event. Everyone was hyping him up. He looked like he was playing really well. For the set against Milky Way, there was a bucket matchup between Bran and Jordan. And for those of you who don't know who Jordan is a 5,000 XP bucket player who's been playing very well in a bunch of Western events. And he was able to hold his own against him. Then again, everyone on the team played really well. You had Q looking like she was trying to prove herself as the best pencil player in the West. You had Ice having consistently great performances on the new pro. And then lastly, you had Jared making every game look so much harder for the enemy team. He was winning fights. He was making super well plays with his crab and his main weapon, enabling his team in so many different ways. All around, it's just a group of great players, and I wanted to give them props this week. While I still have this momentum, I'm just going to quickly go over the second place team of the week, Lavaca. Lavaca was the team I had expecting to win the entire week, as they seemed to have a really good composition on paper. You had Goss on 52, you had Thunder on Dooley, you had Jordan on Bucket. And the most interesting thing about their composition was that they actually had Zenith subbing in for Wave. Because of the already established roster, I believe that left no other choice but for Zenith to play a cooler weapon. So, Zenith did what she does best as a flex player. She locked in a weapon for the event, and in this case, heavy at it, and fit the roster like a glove. Honestly, watching their gameplay, you could already tell there's like some crazy synergy between Zenith, Thunder, and Goss. I know if they played a couple times, especially in Riptide, specifically the most recent Riptide back in September. I was really surprised to see how well they played, especially on Heavy Edit, despite me never seeing Zenith play Heavy Edit before. They were able to get some crazy upsets, such as beating Moon Knight 3-1, and actually beating Milky Way 3-1 to secure an early Grand Finals placement. Now, on to week 2. Week 2 of the NA League regular season was won by yours truly, FT Win. I was honestly expecting them to win at some point, but I did not think that they would win this early, this fast. Because long story short, the team made a bunch of roster changes, they made a bunch of comp changes, and it panned out in their favor a lot faster than I expected. The roster consisted of Keo, Biscuit, you had Sam, my goat, and then my other goat, Hexen. For those of you who don't know, Hexen is a player that played in the Splatoon 1 and early Splatoon 2 days. He's been coaching FD1 for some time, and looking back at it now, I'm sorry, I don't know how long he's been coaching for. I'm just going to guess like a year or so. And he hasn't really been playing the game. Editor's note, I completely forgot to add this one accolade. The most important accolade. Sorry. Hexen is actually a world champion. Yes, I'm pretty sure he won back in 2017. I remember watching it when I was really young. Really interesting stuff. And I got jump scared by power. Sorry. Anyways, back to the video. Despite not playing, I know Hexen's been around the community for a while, as I've seen him post some YouTube videos where he analyzes top JP players. And honestly, it's really interesting stuff. I'll put a link to his YouTube channel in the description below. Please check him out for me. At some point leading up to week 2, I saw somewhere that Bursty, or the player who was originally filling their 4th spot on the roster, was actually taking a break. It's really unfortunate to see. I hope he comes back to the game better and stronger, and I hope everything goes well for him. Furthermore, after seeing the tweet that Bursty made saying that they were taking a break, that really got me thinking, who the hell is going to be their 4th? Because at first glance, there isn't an obvious answer to this. Because you have players like Toon, you can maybe get Bagel. Hell, you can get Zenith, Oh, maybe Shaq. Shaq came back. He came back for like a tournament with Gray and Keo. He won it. He's 2 for 2 in tournaments. I was honestly worried for them until I saw that spot was filled by none other than Hexen. I was very shocked to see it, and honestly, I was very excited. To understand how happy I was to see him play, it's kind of like seeing Michael Jordan come back out of retirement just to play a couple extra seasons before the Leafs are good. But unlike Michael Jordan in his last few seasons where he played like dog shit, Hexen did not play like dog shit. He actually played very good. In week 1, I was hoping to discuss some of the issues that FD1 had, where it looked like they were just struggling against teams that they really shouldn't have. They were fighting too much, and they were not able to get enough paint and just not get enough kills to carry out the playstyle that they wanted to. At the time that I was watching FD Win play week 1, I was really interested to see what Jared had to say about their team, where after watching FT Win play against Lavaca, he made a comment saying where it honestly looked like they needed a splash player more than a dually player. And with that in mind, I was thinking, okay, cool. Hexen, he'll come back to the game after not playing the game for a while. He'll come back and he'll play splash, and all their issues would go away. Spoiler alert, I was dead wrong. Hexen locked in V dually and had a masterclass performance the other day. He seemed to be their main shot caller, and honestly seemed like he knew a lot about the game. And honestly, just by watching the gameplay and hearing the comms, I can see why he's their coach. He's smart as hell. I ain't gonna lie. Alongside the change that Sam had to swapping to S Blast and Keo finally playing Bucket after what seems like forever on Dreadringer, and it looked like the playstyle that they were going for is finally paying off in their favor because they were able to beat teams that they lost to the previous week, going 3-1 against Lavaca in round 2, and then going 3-0 against Milky Way to secure nearly grand finals, and then going 3-2 against them again to prevent a bracket reset. Again, congratulations to FD1 for winning week 2. It was super fun watching y'all this weekend, and I hope you see you guys continue this momentum going into week 3. And with that, that basically wraps up this video. I talked mostly about everything I wanted to discuss, but at the same time, I was trying to keep the video probably really short, so it's easier to digest all the information. Again, this video could have been easily so much longer. Like I could have gone on forever about all the things that I saw in the previous weeks of the season. With that in mind, if you guys really want longer videos, please let me know in the comments. If this is the type of content people are interested in, I'll be more than happy to discuss more information about week 3. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate the support. If I manage to post this video before week 3 starts, then I'll be live with week 3 alongside my team Chef and Cooley. And I hope you guys continue to support us. Again, thank you guys. Have a great day. Bye-bye.